Ah yes, the good old shield. One of the best ways to protect yourself from damage. At least until you learn how to dodge nearly every attack in the game. This good old plank of wood would do just fine in protecting you. As long as you have the green juice, of course. And in here, Elden Ring Nightreign, I decided to do a challenge run of it. So the rules are simple. The shield protects and the shield attacks. That also means that any passive or active abilities that are connected to the shield are a-okay. That also means that relic bonuses and enemy rewards are okay. So to start off, we're going with John Nightreign here. One of the only two characters that has a shield in their starting kit. Bird Boy will have his time to shine, but not right now. You know, looking back at this footage right now, I really had no idea what I was doing. In a game like Nightreign, speed is the utmost importance. And because we're always on a timer, everything has to be done very quickly. And because this game is pretty randomized, getting good shields is up to luck. And let me tell you this right now, during this run I had partially no such thing. Alright, but enough of that. Let's get the run started. The pathing against the Night Lords is pretty straightforward. Of course, starting off with Tricephalos. For most of day one in this expedition, I just tried to get as much runes as I could have, while also fighting some of the minor bosses that are scattered around the map. Good thing about Wilder is that he has his little cheat death ability. But if you're in a bad spot, it's pretty much tough luck there. Good thing death is not permanent until it's a night boss. And as a reward here, I got another shield. Lucky me. Unfortunately, it's a light shield, but the good thing is that it's a blue rarity. So that means more damage for me. Also, another reason why I chose Wilder is because of his pretty good mobility with his grapple. Next up, I went and increased my flask count. Fought a few more low tier bosses in order to get shields, or at least weapons with good passives. Also decided to fight another jail, but after I realized I was gonna get jumped here, I realized that it's not worth fighting against these large groups of enemies like this solo. So I just decided to book it out of there. Open up one of these statue things in order to try to get something good out of it, which most of the times the rewards are okay. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. Also, I went and talked to the normal merchant because he sometimes sells some really good shields. It has an alright passive that I can't take advantage of, but at least it's a medium shield. And that just means pretty much more damage for me. And now for the first day's night boss, I had to fight some demi-humans. And if you know what you're fighting as the fodder enemy for the night, you pretty much know what the night boss is. And after taking care of the little guys, it's a demi-human queen with a sword master. When it comes to priority, I think the sword master should be the first one taken out. And that's because he's a nimble little rat that can inflict frost on you. And if you position yourself incorrectly or mess up in the fight, you're pretty much teetering at death's door. In a 3-man group, this fight isn't much of a problem, but as a solo, it's pretty dangerous. Especially since I'm just using shields. But once the sword master is defeated, the demi-human queen starts to tweak out, which summons a bunch of little golden minions, but they can be easily ignored. And now it's just an effort of trying to get good hits against the queen. In this fight, jumping attack was pretty much my best friend. Of course, I needed to actually hit the queen in order to do damage. But after one final critical attack, the queen goes down. I get a nice little bonus of improved dodging. And now it's time for the next day, which I pretty much just finished off the jail that I abandoned. Gave me pretty much nothing good, mind you. I went and tried to take over the middle fort, which was unfortunately filled with a bunch of giants. And this task that I gave myself was not going well. I pretty much just spent the entire day at this location, and it was not worth. I did get a nice little random shield though. Not from the giants, mind you. On the way to the last circle, I tried to farm as much runes as I could have. And as for the night enemies of day 2, it was pretty much an Altus Plateau party. And that means the biggest annoyance in this fight wasn't even the perfumers, it was the page. That pulley crossbow can delete me if I'm not careful. And I am not one to get perfume bolted to death. Jeez, this game sometimes has no mercy. But now that the small enemies are defeated, it's time for the tree sentinel. Thankfully, 3 Sentinel missed a lot of his attacks, which gave me a lot of chance to just do damage. And the little Royal Cavalrymen that he spawns with don't really do anything as long as I'm aggroed on the 3 Sentinel himself. Even when he sent his little cavalrymen against me, this did not change the outcome of the fight. This was pretty much a whole bunch of 3 Sentinel bullying. I broke his stance like 4 times during the fight. Poor little 3 Sentinel. And as for the cavalrymen, I'm pretty sure you know the outcome. And there we go, Night Boss defeated. I get my little reward. And now it's time for the Night Lord. And now it's time to fight Gladius, the triple-headed doggo. For the first phase, my main enemy was the boss's hitbox. Unfortunately, because of how flat the shield is, the hurt box does not extend very much. And that means a good amount of my attacks just outright whiff. And when you're fighting a boss that takes around 40 minutes to get to, that's the last thing you want. Missing attacks is not fun and makes the fight even longer. But persistence is key here, and I have to make my hits count. But yeah, that was pretty much most of phase 1. But now it's on to phase 2, where the fight has gotten a lot more difficult when the doggos split up. To make the fight simple and not take any risks, I just book it in this phase. Luckily with the sprint, I can just dodge most attacks. This is also the phase where I should not be greedy because it could very much spell the end of me. And I do not want to waste 40 minutes getting back here. Most of this fight was pretty much just waiting for Gladius to reform. And also cry a huge river because the game was absolutely mean to me. No game, I get it. It's not like I'm trying to hit the boss. Now it's time to rinse and repeat this pattern to the very end. Wait for the reform. Attack with all my might. Then run away like a coward when I'm getting chased by 3 dogs. And finally, after a good 9 minutes, Night Lord Gladius has been defeated. After that, I get some very subpar rewards in the form of relics. Now it's time for the next expedition, the Gaping Jaw. This next expedition was going pretty normal at first. But this time around, I was not getting any good loot. This expedition also had a Master Merchant active, but unfortunately the good stuff is behind a pretty big paywall. And unfortunately, while I was trying to get as much runes as I can to buy my way to victory, I ended up dying to day 1's night boss, the Duke's Dear Frasia. Looking at this footage back now, it was a horrendous idea to jump right back into the Death Blazer. Well, that was pretty much 15 minutes down the drain, and all that means is just time to go again. Hopefully this time around it isn't as bad. You know, in this expedition, everything's looking pretty good. The first night boss of this expedition was the Gaping Dragon, and nearly the entire fight I was trying to cut its tail off. The reason why I do this is because I want some of that bonus loot it drops. Unfortunately, the loot it drops is junk. And after defeating the Gaping Dragon, I get my night reward, which unfortunately was not good. None of these are good for me. And now for the rest of the next day, I tried to fight a singular omen from an Ever Jail. And for some reason, I was getting absolutely wrecked. Well, there went that entire day for some very subpar rewards. And the Night 2 boss was the Ancient Dragon. And this guy, for no reason, is incredibly tanky. Even in a triple player squad, this fight takes pretty long. Unfortunately, it's very much worse in single player. That is, of course, unless you aim for the head, but that is difficult for melee. And because of how long this fight was, I was eventually worn down and eliminated. There went this second attempt. In the third attempt, I saw the absurd prices of the master merchants, and I just decided to call it quits here. I pretty much knew there was no way I was going to get that shield. But that's just the excuse. I actually think I was just very tired when I was recording this. Attempt number 4, Worm Face did me in. Here, when the instant I got grabbed, I just quit out because I did not want to turn into someone's fetish. After that attempt, I decided to swap out the relic that gives me runes on critical hits, just for a discount on the shop purchases. Onward to the 5th attempt. In this attempt, I found out that the flame chariots were very easy to eliminate for runes. They are pretty much just a head-shaped piggy bank. I also took care of Worm Face as the Night 1 boss. That passive buildup of Death Blight is not fun to deal with. And after eliminating the Earth Tree avatar for some runes and a subpar reward. At least for this challenge run, it's a subpar reward. I met up with the scale-bearing merchant after that, and I wanted the power of a demon, not knowing what it'd give me. And this is where I found out that this little eyeball pretty much annulled the expedition. It ain't a shield and it's doing damage. That is not good. This expedition has been invalidated. And now look who it is, Ancient Dragon again. Well, good thing this is a dead run already, because I do not like this fight. So saving and quitting is the way to go. Now it's time for the next attempt, and I hope I can actually get to the damn boss. All this time I haven't even fought the Gaping Jaw. Well, now it's time to do the same old usual of collecting flasks. Then get runes and items that'll help me in my path to victory. Oh, and just to let you know, this great shield that I have, I bought it from the Master Merchant. The Night 1 boss was the Gargoyle, and I was doing actually very decent damage against him. And the shield is now purple because of the Smithing Stone, and oof, that damage is beautiful. At least it's a lot better than what I'm used to with shields as of lately. With the Night boss defeated, I get guard counters activate a summoning attack, which was a rarely used ability because the shield just did all the damage it needed to. Not only that, but actually reaching the enemy with the guard counter is sometimes annoying to do, and it's very much just because of how short the shield is. Not only that, but at this point I was using relics that increases my damage of my initial attack, and it actually works some pretty wonders on the shield. I mean, just look at all the damage I'm doing to Loretta. Poor Loretta didn't even stand a chance, and my reward was kinda lame. I tried to do the same thing with the Ulcerated Tree Spirit, but unfortunately the night caught up with me. Unfortunately, trying to get to the circle, I took a very bad turn and ended up dying just a bit away from it. But fortunately, it's a pretty easy get as long as I eliminate the night boss. And that boss being the Outland Commander. aka O'Neil, because it's the Frost version. No, wait, pardon, this is Commander Nile, not O'Neil. I just remembered O'Neil is rot. Also, O'Neil does not spawn into 2 nights. Luckily for me, Nile's moveset is very easy to read, as I've fought him so many times already. You know, his defeat, I get the reward of increased max stamina. After that, I quickly go get my runes. Can't leave that there. Now it's time for the Gaping Jaw at Doe. And to start off, it was not going great. I was pretty much just a chew toy for a majority of the first phase. Not only that, but trying to get close to him to hit him with the shield is a bit challenging. Because of how often he kind of micro moves, I end up missing my hits. Good thing for me though is I started to find my rhythm and started to rack up the damage. And now that about 1/3 of his health is gone, it's time for phase 2. Adele now hits harder and has AoEs, but luckily his moveset doesn't change much. Shield, do your magic and protect me. But yeah, now pretty much the rest of the fight is just me trying to catch up to the boss and making sure to dodge all of his attacks. And the shield protects. Whoop, there went my sixth sense. Alright, now it's just time to end this. And with the final running attack, Adele goes down, and the Gaping Jaw Night Lord has been defeated. With the Spitmouth Dragon defeated, it's up to the next expedition. And since it's the pests, I would love some fire damage. Also, runes in this expedition was actually pretty easy to get. These little militiamen are pretty chunky when it comes to runes. One backstab was 1,800 points of deliciousness. While getting my extra flask, I found a nice little hidden gift for me. Seems like a poor recluse died in the bush here. I ended up picking up the shield, but everything else the recluse had looked pretty spicy. It's a shame I can't actively use them though. Whoops, Vike's War Spear. It's a shame I can't bloody use it, but at the very least it has a good passive I could use. Middle 4 was completely taken over by giants, so I just took as much runes as I could from the enemies around it. Even trying to get runes outside is dangerous. Night 1 enemies were little tree guys, so that means the night boss is the ulcerated tree spirit. This Dark Souls 3 reject was not much of a hassle to take down. The tree spirit is also very grabby right now. And all it takes is one bad dodge, or in this case, no dodge at my part, for it to ruin everything. Thank you From Software for the revives. It's very good against your more less refined enemies. And with the ulcerated tree spirit down, I just get junk. Hooray! None of these are good for me to use. Time for day 2, which I found Loretta. Fighting Loretta is not much of a hassle, but it does take a bit of time. And my reward for this would have been very good if I wasn't doing this challenge run. Now heading towards the mines in order to get a smithing stone too. After that I fight another formidable opponent, just ignore the Deathrite bird, because that is something I do not want to fight. What I want to battle against is the Erdtree Avatar. His attacks are simple and gives me a lot of opportunities to do damage. And would you look at that, it actually gave me something pretty good, the Ant Skull Plate. The passive could be better, but hey, I'm not complaining. Finally, a pretty good shield, even though my shield's already purple. And now with the final circle, the enemies were snakes, which means the night boss is the Great Worm. And with the Ant Face Plate, I just poison a worm. It's like a truck, but it's also pretty slow. Same thing with the worm, which I take absolute advantage on. With the night boss defeated, I get a pretty good reward of improved flask HP restoration. Now it's time to make some final purchases, and now it's time to fight against the sentient pests. And because Big Dude is much easier to hit, Stone Heart, Stone Shield, something like that. Big Boy Bug is much easier to hit. I'm just gonna really focus my attacks on him. Noster pretty much takes up all my stamina to even try to keep up. Moth is almost always out of reach as well, which makes pursuing it not worth. So the big dude is the big target. But yeah, that's pretty much most of phase 1, just trying not to get strays from the moth, while also attacking the big guy as much as I could. For phase 2, nothing really changes except for a giant chase, which nearly killed me at the end of that first part. And I also need to dodge the big orbital strike. But yeah, the fight is pretty much just the same. This fight was just a huge bout of attrition. Stance breaking is pretty nice, and I love that extra damage. And because of this giant shield, it's already happened a few times already. But finally, after about 9 minutes, the pests have been defeated. Man, this ant shield is disgusting looking. Oh well, will you look at the relics? Even more junk. Alright, from here on out, the editing is going to be a bit faster, or actually more straightforward. In this expedition, I got the spiky shield, which made my life very easy in Unveiled. And that is of course because of the bleed I'm able to inflict. It's a shame the Astral War wasn't very good for it. But yeah, the final night fight was the Godskin duo. Chubby is up first, and thankfully he's pretty easy to take out. Thankfully, using this shield as a shield made this fight pretty easy. That is of course if I have stamina to help me, because if not, well, there's some pretty close calls here. I am surprised I even survived that. The flask recovery truly came in clutch. But after getting roly-polied on, the fat one gets defeated. It's now on to the skinny one. They have barely changed much since the normal Elden Ring. And with the amount of damage I do with my shield, I'm actually taking him out pretty quickly. I just have to be careful with his new attacks, especially the grab attack. It's a very intimidating attack, but if you panic roll enough, it's a non-issue. Hopefully. But after that fight, I get a reward of improved stamina recovery. And now for the Night Lord battle, it's against Augur. And unfortunate for me, Maris here is immune to bleed. I do a good bit of physical damage, but this is going to be a very long fight. This fight is very much a game of catch-up, and I absolutely hate that. If only I was able to do lightning damage in this fight as well. It's like going against the Elden Beast all over again. But at least this time I have the ability to sprint towards my target. Eliminating the extra enemies that Maris spawns is pretty helpful, but due to the shield being pretty slow, this causes some problems. And also, one other thing, Maris' sleep attack is incredibly dangerous. And that's because I don't have a good way of just knocking it out of it. So I'm very much at the mercy of that attack. And with each failed attempt doing extra damage against me, I cannot let this fight last long. I can't let this drag out, and with my limited revives, I can't lose like this. Thankfully my ultimate gives me a few seconds of invulnerability, which saved me here. But there's not much I can say about the other times. Yep, there went all my health. And now I'm down a revive. The longer this fight continues, the more brutal it gets. The lack of lightning bonus really hurts. And with how long it takes to get here, I really have to step my game up. Thankfully, in the next sleep attempt, I was able to stance break it out of it. Good timing too, because that sleep bar was filling up quickly. And right now is no time to take a nap. Alright, the situation has now gone to nearly full bar. Thankfully, I had my ultimate here as an insurance. But now I have no flash for healing, and only have one revive left. Also, one funny little thing, Maris can actually spawn the little jellyfishes outside of the boundary of the arena. Doesn't really do much, but it keeps them out of the fight. But thankfully after 15 minutes, Augur has been defeated and another Night Lord has been eliminated. I got pretty lucky in that final part, but I am not complaining about it. Gotta love the improved attack damage at full health, even though it kinda wasn't present for most of the fights. In the next expedition there wasn't much that was done, I just had to fight a bunch of little hands. And that led me to fight the centipede demon, which I just stuck by the legs, which let me just beat him real quick. This really did not feel like much of a fight, honestly. It was pretty much just shuffling in place the entire night. Hooray, junk that I can't really use. After that, I met the bell-bearing hunter out here. As long as I dodge correctly, I can pretty much just whittle him down with my attacks. Problem is that my attacks are very weak right now. Yeah, this fight took like an entire 5 minutes to finish. It kinda wasn't worth it except for the runes. After that, I tried to collect stuff that would help me in my fight against the goat man. The second night fight was the death ray bird, and with my holy shield I had the advantage here. Of course, its range and attacks are a bit absurd though. Well, when you look at that improved stance breaking, I'll gladly take it. And with that, I do my little shopping. After that, I refuse to make a deal with the skill-bearing merchant, and now it's time to fight Libra. The fingerprint shield would be very good here, but unfortunately I did not get it. The madness buildup would have been nice for this. It's actually a bit difficult to hit the boss because hitboxes kinda suck. Like seriously, those attacks should have been hits. But unfortunately, because of how flat the shield is, I guess I'm out of luck there. And now for the rest of the fight, I pretty much just try not to go insane from madness, while also trying to take advantage of attack opportunities whenever I can. Because I can't reach the sigils up in the sky, unfortunately out of luck whenever I'm trying to prevent them from powering up. All I gotta focus really on is not going insane from the madness. And this cycle was pretty much a rinse and repeat type of thing. There was only one time I was able to break him out of his little power up the second time. I'm pretty sure it's just because of the accumulated stance damage, but at least it happened because I do not like facing a powered up Libra. Now a tweaking out Libra is much more manageable. Worst part too is because right after that crash out, he decided to just power up instantly. Guess there's no smooth sailing for me, just madness. But finally, after a monumentous amount of whiffs on my attacks, the merchant, aka Libra, has been defeated. I hate how short the range the shield is. It also doesn't help that the hitbox of the boss is kinda when it comes to some of these. Great, now it's time for the next boss, which is the Dark Drift Knight. This expedition pretty much just started out like the usual, just gathering runes, but then out of nowhere I got hit by the Libra event. And this is actually a good thing because if I pay it off, I get the bonus of having bonus damage from having a lot of runes to spare. I also get a free little devil deal, which of course I take the take runes option. And I need these runes to cause more pain on my enemies. First night boss was the centipede fight, which just like the other one, it was pretty simple. It just loved the shuffling in place, which I took full advantage of. The reward was actually okay, providing more damage after crits. And for day 2, I pretty much tried to farm as much runes as I could. Of course, the flame chariots are a very good way of getting them. Them with their easy way of elimination. Poor enemy horse had a seizure. Wrong place, wrong time. Afterwards, I fought the normal tree sentinel, which as a reward gave me pretty much chunk, but at least I got a lot of runes out of this fight. Of course, the magma worm was right next to the tree sentinel, so I decided to take him out, which of course provided me a good amount of runes, and the reward was kind of okay as well. Decided to go 3 for 3 on the difficult field bosses because Draconic Tree Sentinel was also pretty close by. I was a little pressed on time because the knight was already coming in against the Draconic Tree Sentinel, but luckily for me, he was pretty close to death, so I decided to take the chance and took him out. The reward for that was pretty good, and now it's time to head towards the final circle. And for the day 2 night boss, well, it was Nile. And this fight, just like last time, was actually pretty easy. The only difference now is that I can actually do some extra damage because of the bleeding shield that I have. And with the Outland Commander defeated, I get an okay reward of improved HP restoration for my flask. And after doing some last minute just in case shopping, it's now time to fight the Dark Drift Knight, Folgore. And because I've already fought his Ever Dark Sovereign version, this fight was not difficult at all. When it comes to his little charge up, thankfully I can just stagger him out of it pretty easily. It's more of a hit based thing than damage like the other ones. And now on to phase 2, I continue to provide no mercy. It's actually very nice when I have some pretty good shields during these fights. I can pretty much just read Dark Rift Knight like a book. Also, the bleed damage on the shield continues to be very nice. It really makes this fight go quickly. Well, with that, Hog Warrior is defeated, and another Night Lord has been eliminated. Again, this encounter pretty much just lasted like about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Quite a difference between the other ones that I've done already. And continuing the trend, I get junk relic rewards. Isn't this fun? An endless grind for the best relics. With the Centaur defeated, it's up to the last 2 expeditions now. So let's start the day nice and strong. So I went to Middle Fort in order to hunt down a bunch of sewer crabs. Such a nice little bunch of runes that they give. And they all been helpful through the run. Middle Fort was Crucible Night Day, so it's time to take advantage of such a thing. After all the expeditions I've done, it's finally Crucible Nights. Only problem I have is they're chunky, so they take a little bit to defeat. And that big shield he has prevents a lot of damage I could be doing. At the very least, they drop a very good amount of runes. The expedition is going pretty well. And the night boss for day 1 is, well, Grafton Monarch, aka Godric, and he was not taken out with much of a hassle. In day 2, I get my Smithing Stone level 2. And for day 2, the night boss is the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, which unfortunately was kicking my ass. Actually, let me be more clear. She spin to win to absolutely kick my ass. Well, that was a bunch of hogwash. Alright game, let's run this back again. For day 1, I was just taking care of the little forts that were sprawled around the map, and also the camps that are along the way. These camps have a lot more runes to gain compared to the other places. Night 1 fight was Godric again, which actually this time almost died. Honestly, his most scariest attack, at least for me, is the charge that he now has. Yep, I have no idea what happened this time around, but that was very dangerous. In day 2, I got Smithing Stone level 2 from the mines. Eliminated a poor fire monk that had no reason to be on the hit list. Doesn't really even give a good amount of runes, honestly. Nothing to gain as a reward either. But now, I go into Middle Fort to farm runes. Let me tell you, between the medium shield and the great shields, I enjoy using the medium shields a lot more as a weapon. Might be a bit weaker, but at least I get more attacks out and it gets the job done. Yep, fast enough for me to dodge and attack more frequently. And the amount of runes I'm getting is very good. Yeah, the great shield does more damage, stat-wise on everything, but I prefer medium shields. Not gonna lie though, the hardness of the great shields are very good. I tried recovering as much HP as I could here through the night enemies because I gained HP while guarding, but unfortunately I made too many mistakes and took too long, so it was not worth it. And now against the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, I try to give her as much of an ass whooping as I can. And when Spin the Wind comes in, it's time to run away. It really seems like she did not like the butt slaps. Okay, this fight is a lot more bearable with a medium shield. A lot more opportunities to defend and dodge if I need to. With the Dancer defeated, I get improved stance breaking as my reward. Then I get a cheeky little talisman for HP recovery after all that fighting. Then I scavenge a few little runes in order to aid me if I need them. And after using all of it to level up, it's time to fight Caligo. Okay, so for the fight against this Frost Dragon, there's only 2 simple steps that need to be done. Just attack the legs with heavy attacks, and then just go in for the crit. Because Walder's ability is very good at closing the distance, it makes it easy to consistently keep up with Caligo. And because she doesn't have a lot of close range attacks when you're already up in her business, stance breaking is no longer a matter of how, but when. The only time she caught me lacking in this fight was during, or deep into the second phase. Caligo here decided to just fly off, and I could not find him. And then out of nowhere, airstrike attacks coming in. But yeah, that was pretty much the rest of the fight. A whole lot of stance breaking and a whole lot of critical damage. And the second to last boss was not that difficult to fight. The only thing that really did damage to me here in this fight is the amount of frost that's everywhere. And after enough smacks, Caligo goes down. I also just noticed that the pair of shields that I have are actually matching. I found that coincidence pretty nice. But enough of that. As always, at the end I get junk. And now it's time for the final boss of the game. It is now time to eliminate the night aspect. There was a good amount of fire camps in this expedition. And with all these fire camps, that means a whole lot of runes from the flame chariots. The load just snapping right into the insta-kill location. The rewards were kinda lame though, but I'll take that critical hit bonus. I also tried to do some ruins, but I can see I am not welcomed here. With all the destroyed fire camps conquered, it's time to continue the crab hunt. Afterwards, I decided to fight against the ancestor spirit, but I would have whiffed a majority of my attacks. Alright, that was about 2 minutes of my time pretty much wasted there. Oh yeah, don't mind the crab massacre that you witnessed right now. For the night 1 boss, it was Commander O'Neill. I know this because he's the only one that spawns a bunch of little guys with crossbows, and they're quite the annoying little bunch. But once his spirit buddies are defeated, he's not that different at all from Nile. I mean, makes sense, because Nile was supposed to be the step up compared to O'Neill. Nile spams all the lightning attacks, and this guy does not. All he does is produce rotten fart clouds. And that makes this an easy elimination. With the battlefield commander defeated, I go and hunt down an ulcerated tree spirit. I use the big shield on this one for the more consistent stance damage, which I took absolutely full advantage of. The critical hit increase also helps. At least I'm pretty sure it does. Love you From Software with your interesting hurt boxes. And my reward for that was pretty much junk. Hopefully the next tier 2 formidable enemy gives me something good. And Drakar Tree Sentinel was chilling right next to Ulcerated Tree Spirit, so I might as well pay him a visit. The time to take him down took a little bit, just because I was using my small little dinky shield. I mean, it even got to the point that the night engulfed me, so yeah, I was taking a good bit of time. I did decide to power right through the circle, and I beat him, and got something okay, which is just more crit damage. The initial standard damage relic was actually working pretty nice. And because of that, I wanted to make sure that I upgrade the small shield. Oh yeah, got it all the way to purple. Only one problem though, the circle's all the way near the end and I have no flasks. Well, I guess it's time to just give up here. But that of course is just a huge JK because it just spawns me right in the circle, but at least now I have all my flasks. Lost a level though, but hey, flasks. And I say that as I'm just getting jumped. So right after the Mist Be Gone, it's now time to fight the Crucible Knights, which is no different from the ones I usually fight in the middle fort. But once he's around half health, Golden Hippo comes in to ruin the party. Mr. Hippo here is luckily more squishier than the Crucible Knights, so he gets taken out in a short amount of time. And as for the Crucible Knight, well, you know what happens. He gets absolutely shielded to death. The reward again is a somewhat junk. Actually no, it's pretty much trash. And now it's time to fight the final boss of the game, and that be Mr. Night Aspect. And unfortunately during this entire fight, I felt like an absolute noob. I don't know what happened to me. I haven't really fought Night Aspect for a good amount of time, so I just kept on getting hit. The worst part is that I got hit from his more predictable attacks too. And even worse yet, this is still just the first phase. Yes, to let you know, I've already died 2 times right here. That does not bode well. But that just means a lot more work has to be done. Yeah, no, phase 2 is not going well. This is a big oof Too many mistakes are being made. And after all that fighting and barely at half health, the boss just defeats me. I know this was just one expedition and it's not much of an excuse, but I did want to use another Nightfarer, and I'm pretty sure you know who. Oh yeah, it's time for Guardian, the absolute bird chad. With the enemies pretty much hurting themselves attacking Guardian's Iron Guard shield, makes me wonder why I haven't really used this character a bit more during the run. I'm just using him here at the end. But then again, this is still a perfect time to show him off. He is the man, the myth, the bird, and an absolute unit. Well, better late than never. Also love me some flame chariot hunting. I got an alright reward. Guardian does not care about these attacks. In fact, he's just wondering why you're hurting yourself. He does have a little bit of a slip up though. No stamina equals death. But let's ignore the fact that I died to the Dancer of the Boreal Valley again. Because there is no quitting until I achieve victory. I just gotta be a little less greedy in some of the encounters. Because as I say again, no stamina equals death. The Night 1 boss was the Royal Revenant, which was a very big case of stop hitting yourself. And I really love some of these moments. I love letting the enemies hurt themselves because of Guardian's shield. Also got a pretty good reward for this, especially since Guardian can make the most of it. Gotta love that HP recovery on successful guard. With Night 1 conquered, I now get jump scared by the Bell-Bearing Hunter. Literally a truck out of nowhere. Holy moly. Yeah, you're not catching me with that grab. And with the amount of damage I'm doing right now and level, oh boy, this is gonna be a pretty lengthy fight. Some of the guard counters though, which is very good for stance breaking and damage. Really have to be careful with my stamina though, because Bell-Bearing Hunter hits like a damn truck. Also, his grabs are very scary as a guardian. But at the very end, the shield shot prevails, and I get my reward. Oof, that took pretty much the entire night. But just because of that fight, I'm treating myself. Guard counter, activating summoning attacks. First circle is already coming in, so I have to get to safety. Now I have a bunch of skelly boys helping me through my shield. No idea why they decided to pop out there early. And now for day 2, I decided to take over Middle Fort. And with this confidence boost and damage, I feel pretty unstoppable. I also ended up getting the Bell-Bearing Hunter's Briar Shield here in Middle Fort as a little bonus. That's a pretty worthless passive for me, but at least I now have it as a backup. And now with the last circle coming in for the day, I decided to buy a little bit of insurance. Can't be too careful with these fights because, well, anything can happen. And now for a Night 2 boss, it's the Great Worm. I decided to use the Briar Shield here just for the bleed that it provides. And that of course made this fight go a little bit more quicker. Also the amount of stance breaking really helped a lot. Crotch hit. And now with the Great Worm defeated, I actually get some pretty good rewards to choose from. Now before the final boss, I decided to do one more point of interest for it. Which because of the night just ticked my health down all the way. Thankfully though, it was very close to the last circle, so I just got my stuff back, finished this location. And as always, got nothing that really helps me. Then made my final purchases, which is just a bunch of insurance. One final level for the road, and now it's off to fight the final boss again. And this time Heolister was a lot more manageable to fight. Here at least in phase 1, I made sure that he hurt himself all the way to the second phase. But I do have to be careful on which attacks I defend against, because it leaves me stunned for a bit, and that actually just leaves me very much vulnerable to attacks. But if I'm far away enough, things seem to work out fine. Please ignore that failed dodge. But with that, first phase has been conquered by the absolute unit that is the bird wall. No deaths and just a little bit of hurting. So everything's going pretty well right now. And now it's on to phase 2 where some of his neo attacks just phase right through my shield. Big magic attacks with the big magical sword is pretty scary. But so are the spooky skeletons that I can summon. And with 1/3 of his health pretty much gone, it is now time to fight a buffed up Heelster. And that means this time around, it's madness. Oh boy, madness. I hate madness. And in this fight, one wrong move, it's pretty much a run killer. It's a good thing I bought up some insurance. I love how I can pretty much protect it against everything except for the funny looking eye status. And now when he goes crazy with the swings, I now make my best impression as a wall. And now it's time to repeat this painful process. And now it's time to repeat this entire process of the game just bullying me. You can't see the attack? Whoops, have some airtime. Oh, I just realized you're the bird character. Well, up you go again. And this last one? Just a big F you. Thanks From Software. It didn't even do damage. The game was really out to get me here. And all this means though is that I have to fight back even harder. Because if the game wants me to lose, I am not going to allow it. I'll give you this game. With how this fight is going right now, at least you're not making it boring. Even though I really call bull on this boss fight. No, you know what? Thank you, game. At least you give me immunity frames. And finally here, in the final part, he wanted to spam his magic attacks, so I just decided to end him. And with that, the Night Lord has been defeated. Now, was this a fight against a boss, or was this a fight against Elden Ring Nightreign itself? But whatever it might have been, I have won, and I have beaten Elden Ring Nightreign with the shields. A good old shield-only run has been complete. Well, this run was fun while it lasted. It's a shame I've been taking a little too long editing these videos. Unfortunately, I've been busy with work, so yeah, what can you do? Also, one quick note, I've been streaming more frequently on YouTube now. This is just a short little advertisement for the live streams I tend to do each week on YouTube. Hope you join it, but if you can't, that's alright. But yeah, this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast playing through the game with shields only. But now, this has been Warnock Gamer 4, and I thank you for watching this video. And now this is where I sign off. I hope everyone has a good day. Ciao.